Moto Mic 805 here. Today we're going to open up the primary and we're going to put the grenade plate back in. Reason I'm doing that is I found some forums out there that have said if you're getting a squeak or a squeal from this area, it could be because you're using the extra plate clutch kit, which I've put about 3 brand new clutch kits in here. I've replaced bearings, adjust the tension, done a ton of stuff, and I just can't get rid of this squeal. So I'm gonna last ditch effort here is this is an Alto spring separator plate. So this isn't the one from Harley. So hopefully this one lasts a little longer than the stock one. I originally had the stock spring plate blow up, hence the name grenade plate. So we'll see. I don't know if this is going to work or not. If some of those people out there on the forums or don't know what they're talking about or do know what they're talking about. So we'll find out. So to start off today, I've gotten everything all laid out here, so I don't have to get up and pause the video, go to the toolbox. We've got my inch-pound torque wrench. It is a cheapie, Pittsburgh from Harbor Freight. I was just listening to a podcast where they said they had one that wasn't clicking and someone snapped a bolt off. So hopefully ours doesn't do that. Got numerous ratchets here because I don't like to swap out the sockets while I'm working. First one we have here is the Torx, and it's a T27 for the derby cover, or I think the proper name is clutch inspection cover. But I've got that for that. And then we've got the other one here. Let's see, this one is for the primary bolts that go around here. And I think this is a, I got a little oil on there, 3/16. So that's the size you need for your cover. We got our 5/8 wrench for the drain plug. This one I believe is a 1/4, and it's for getting the shift lever off here. And then we come over here, just got some a pair of dikes for cutting off. I got this zip tied here on the clutch cable, so we can just cut that zip tie off. Got my screwdriver for the adjuster screw in there. Got our clutch spring compression tool so we can take apart the clutch assembly in there. I've got some extra zip ties. I think I only need one here because it does have these metal clips, but I need one more for up there just to hold all those wires together. I've also got some snap ring pliers over there. I replaced the rubber boot on here a while back. I got tired of trying to get that darn rubber boot up and over this and back on it, and it was getting tore up, and so I found this, I think it was Billet. I don't know, I think that was the manufacturer. But anyway, I found this used on eBay for like $5 because the snap rings were missing. But I just went over to the hardware store and got a couple replacement snap rings. It makes it a lot easier to get in and out of there. I just realized there is a couple more wrenches I will need to get, and I don't remember the sizes, but it's for the clutch adjustment here, so I can back that all the way off. So we will have to go to the toolbox. I don't have everything here. We got the part. I do have some primary transmission fluid, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to reuse what's in here because this is I've only got like 200 or 300 miles on the fluid that's in here. So as long as it looks okay when I drain it, I'm going to put that back in there. I'll try to keep it as clean as possible. I got extra rubber gloves over here. Got some paper towels, which I'm going to try to knock some of the dust off of here so it doesn't fall down into my nice drain pan, aka Tupperware. I find that Tupperware can fit into some tight spaces. I do have a real drain pan, but it's so tall and big it doesn't really fit under the bike that well. So if you've seen my other videos, I've used salad dressing containers, Pyrex measuring cups, whatever you need, whatever will work. Speaking of the salad dressing container, reminding me of the last video we did when we were doing the brakes on the Sportster. We changed the brake fluid, and I didn't realize until I was editing the video, I grabbed dot 3 up on the shelf. If you look up there, I've got a container of dot 3 and dot 4, and I grabbed the wrong one. They both look the exact same except for the number on it. So as soon as we got done, we reflushed it and put dot 4 in. Luckily dot 3 and dot 4 are compatible. At least we didn't make that mistake on the Dyna, which is dot 5. That would have been a mess. So flushed it out, put the dot 4 in there. The only difference is 3 and 4 is the boiling point is higher on dot 4, which you don't want your brake fluid to start boiling. So we took that out and put the right one in. So first thing we're going to do is get this off of here, and that is a 1/4 inch. Now this bolt needs to come all the way out. You won't be able to slide this over the spleen here if you don't get the bolt all the way out. It's grooved on here to hold it so it doesn't slide off when you're going down the road if it gets loose. Just realized something else I might need is a bigger screwdriver to help me slide this side. I think it's coming. There we go. See, it's got the groove here, so when this bolt goes down in here, it can't slide off if the bolt loosens up a little bit. So we got this. I'll just kind of move this out of the way. I've got a little bit of seepage through here. Not very fast leak, just some oil building up around it. And I blame that on, tried to replace this seal that's underneath here. This is just a little like rubber piece sitting on there. But underneath it there's a seal, and we replaced that once, and I swear it does not fit back in there the way the one that came off did. And I have looked all around at different videos and whatnot, and I guess it just sits like that. It doesn't seem like the best design to me, because it does still leak a little. Alright, so next I'm going to go ahead and actually we'll take this cover, the derby cover off. That's the T27 Torx. Oops, that is not a Torx. Here we go, T27. Someone asked me a while back what wrenches these are, and these are Mac Tools Spinflex. I don't know if they still make these anymore. I bought this thing over 20 years ago when I was an automotive mechanic. I still have a lot of my tools left over from those days. Anything that was of great value or pneumatic tools I probably sold over time when I needed some dinero. But these are really cool ratchets, because you can push it in and spin, or you pull it back out and that locks it. But kind of nifty. I did sell my Mac tool. I had a huge Mac toolbox. I sold that thing for like $2 grand. At the time I was needing some money, and I ended up, oh no, I traded it for a pickup truck. That's right. Back in the 90s. Shop I worked for closed and got laid off, and ended up going back into the restaurant business instead of the automotive business. So we got the derby cover off here. Want to keep any garbage from getting in there. Actually, it's probably, I had the foresight to get the drip tray or drip pan out today, because I'm notorious for making messes. So this is gonna pop out. Usually that nut comes out with it. Oh, you know why? Probably because we still got the tension on it from the cable here. So we're going to get this apart. And then I even got the garbage can nearby, so I don't have to get up and go throw stuff away. I got everything, almost everything that we're going to need in arm's reach, just to make it a little easier, a little quicker. Got snap ring pliers here. Oh, and I forgot to point out, I also got the manual right here, and I've got the pages marked that we're going to need, or got some little, I guess, bookmarks in there. It's always fun getting off snap rings, and you just want to hope that you don't. Actually, I think I have another pliers. It'll be easier to use than that one. I want to make sure you don't accidentally fling them across the garage, never to be seen again. Yeah, these ones are a little easier. You squeeze to open. This one, actually, I think I can change it with this so you can squeeze to open, but you can reverse that. And I had the also foresight to have my glasses on today. Alright, so whoops, there's that. So I say this, I picked up, I say it was like $5 used on eBay just because the snap rings were missing, but I like using this on here. It's a lot easier to get on and off than that stupid rubber boot that you got to slide over this. So I'm going to pause the video while I grab the wrenches for this and be right back. 9/16 on our 1/2 inch wrench here so we can get this backed off. That should probably be easier if I just get it lined up like so, and then just squeeze the wrenches together. Right, so we're going to back this all the way off. So I did forget a couple tools when I was trying to get everything all laid out and get prepared, which always happens. I always forget something. Alright, so we got that backed off. We got these 2 wrenches out of the way. Now this comes attached. And this is the seal. This thing's a pain sometimes to get to stay in here. Alright. Okay. One thing I should probably do before we start breaking these bolts loose is you might want to drain the primary fluid so we don't have that going everywhere. Now on the Sportster, the primary and the transmission share the same fluid. Unlike the twin cam over there on the Dyna, it's got a hole for the primary fluid, a hole for the transmission fluid, and a hole for the motor oil. Got 3 different ones. So we grab our 5/16. Oops, wrong one. 5/8, I mean. 5/16. And get down the drain plug down here. I think we did a good job of keeping all the debris out of our drain pan, our drain Tupperware. Okay. Hopefully that is what that is under the hole. Kind of hard to tell from this angle. There we go. Yep, perfect. Going right in there. So let me grab a paper towel. So yeah, that the color on that looks pretty good. You probably could tell. I don't know if you can tell from the video or not. The lighting might be good, but that looks like new primary fluid. And you got your normal amount of little medical particles here, which is common for this. Any big chunks I might be concerned with, but you always have a small amount on here. And O-ring looks pretty good. I do have some more I think up there, but trying to decide if I'm going to change it. I'll probably put a new O-ring on. We'll pause the video in a little bit and I'll grab that before we put it back together if I remember. Hopefully I remember. But we don't need that right now. Alright, so we're going to let that drain, and then when that's done draining, we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so I went ahead and found my gaskets, and a pack of 25, and I bought this because it's also the same one, same gasket for the Dyna. And it's usually shipping where they get you on these darn things. So this is the drain plug gasket. This is James Gaskets, and it's part number JGI-11105, and it's got all the different compatibilities down there. So I just need one of these out of this bag here. Got one, and take our drain plug here. Yeah, it's probably a good thing we were changing this. This other gasket, it looks a little crunched. So, yeah, get that off there. Toss that in the garbage. And put on our new O-ring. Let me wipe this off a little. Pop the new O-ring on there. I can grip it with my greasy gloves. Pro tip here, a little Teflon tape on there to a little extra help. Probably not really a pro tip, I think everyone does this. Wrap this on here. Kind of pull it snug. Wrap around the way you're going to be threading the bolt on there. And we'll go ahead and put that back in here. I'm sure there's a torque spec for this. We will look at the torque specs and everything else, but I snug it up. It doesn't need to be super tight. You don't want it to fall out, but you don't want to strip it. We had to replace the primary cover on the Dyna because the previous mechanic had stripped that one out, whoever worked on it. That's good. Just snug it up there a little bit. Get that taken care of. See if I can get this out of here without spilling it. Whew. And see how much we got in there. Once again, don't let your wife see this. So 32 ounces of what should be in there, and it looks like we are 2 ounces short, so there's probably still 2 ounces of fluid. I don't know, if I turn it this way, it looks like it's 32 ounces perfect. So maybe it is all in there. That's weird. Looking at it through this way, it looks a little low. Maybe an ounce low. Typically you just want it to be right. Well, I'll show you when we get this off where the level should be for the oil. But every time I put 32 ounces in it, it's right the perfect spot. So set this out of the way so hopefully we don't spill it. And then back this out. Now this goes clockwise to back it out. Get this adjustment nut off here. This should slide out. And come off the cable right there. I'll set this over here. Nice and greasy. This is still the original clutch cable. I replaced it once because I thought it was frayed, but it was actually just this plastic coating that was fraying. So I put it back on because the aftermarket one did not seem to want to adjust correctly. Alright, so now I'm going to start, wrong one! Now we'll start taking off the bolts for the primary. And then once we do that, this will just slide off this way. Now I'm not going to mess with the chain adjustment because I got that right from last time, and taking this on and off, it's not like the Dyna. I think the adjuster is actually in the cover. On here it's inside, so it won't mess with the adjustment when we take this apart. I'll show you what I mean when we get in there. I'm pretty sure on the Sportster these are all the same size, so I don't think we need to worry about where they go back. On the Dyna they are different. Kind of a good rule of thumb, if you do disassemble something and it has different size bolts, is whenever you go to put them back in, so you have a bolt, you put it back in like that, and then you have your other bolt and you put it back in, and say it looks like that, then this one's probably in the wrong place. When you put them back in, they should all have about the same distance regardless of the size of the bolt. So if this was a really tiny bolt, when I put it back in, it should still have about the same gap as the other bolts. So without threading it, they should all be sticking out about the same distance. It's kind of usually that's a good way to tell where it goes. Not always. I'd say 95% of the time. It's just a good way to know, like, oh shoot, which hole did that bolt go in? Because what you don't want to do is, if you're putting this back together and you stick a bolt in there and it goes almost all the way in there, it will not, it might grab it, but if not enough threads are in there, and you could end up stripping it when you take it out, or when you're tightening it up. You might have enough threads to grab, but you go to torque it down and then you stripped it out. So you do want to make sure that bolts go back in the same holes they came out of. Okay, well, not necessarily the exact same hole, but you know what I mean. I'll shut up. Alright, so we got all those off. So let's just slowly work this off of here. Grab this little rubber seal. I see that ounce of fluid I was missing come out down there. And there we go. Oh, never mind, the adjuster is on here. But it's easy to push this up and get it back on. You don't have to back the adjuster off on this to actually get it out of the way. This will set it over here without bending that cable too much. Alright. Get some paper towels to soak up that little bit of fluid. I want to make sure this hadn't come loose, because I've also read that can cause some noise. But it's hard getting the compensator and that torque back down. It took a lot of torque to get that sucker torqued back down properly. So what we're going to do now is we need to get this clip off, and to do that we're going to need the clutch spring compression tool. Trying to make sure this bearing looks like bearing still feels good. We'll look at it when we get that out of there. Alright, so here's our clutch spring compression tool. And I haven't used this in a while. Wow, there is only a few hundred miles, I think, of use on this. It's been quite a while since I had this thing opened up. Because I've been mainly riding the Dyna. Oh, here's this wonderful tool. When you try to save a few bucks and buy something on eBay or Amazon, you buy the cheapest one. This is what happened. It just crunched it. The block to lock this when you're trying to break these loose. Did not really work. Alright. Oh yeah, and here was the other tool I bought, which this just bent. I bent it back, but it was to go here. Just some cheapie. Don't buy the cheapest thing possible, because what this did was this bent when I was trying to break it loose, and it bent upward, knocked the shift linkage out of there. So I've learned my lesson from buying the cheapest possible. Alright, now let's see if I remember how this thing goes together. I believe, yep, so this screws on here. Now you need something to kind of hold that screw still, because it wants to spin while you're threading it on. So it doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to keep this darn thing from spinning. And you want to get this all the way in, as far as it goes. Okay, that should be good. Let's see if I remember. I think this goes on next. Oh, got me alarm going off. Alright, we'll be right back. Alright, so put this on here and then spin on the handle. Don't forget to put that little brass washer there. I've done that and it makes it really hard to back this handle back off and tighten it down. Alright. You need your, I think it's a 1/2 inch. Nope. 9/16. There. So you start cranking this puppy. And what that does is compress this. I don't know if you can tell there. So we can get this clip right here out. Not sure if I got it enough yet. Let's see here. I always feel like I'm putting way too much force on this, and I have broken the pressure plate before trying to get this off. You can see how loose it is now. What we gotta do is get this. I think that's enough. Let's try it again. Maybe a little more. Really don't want to break that pressure plate, so we got to take everything off to kind of rig up something to compress this spring. Where did my bigger, oh there it is, the bigger screwdriver. There we go. So that was enough, it just wasn't able to get enough force on that little clip with that tiny screwdriver. So, see, we get this off, and this is what holds this in here. Now we can just pull this out of here, and we just leave this piece assembled together. There's also another piece here that ring goes around. I forgot the proper names for all these parts. So now in here we've got, let me make sure none of them stuck to the pressure plate. We've got this, all the clutch discs in here. We gotta start pulling out now. Come on. There we go. Just stuck the screwdriver up in the little hole here to kind of get it started. These things are stuck together pretty well. Alright, it's nice when they all come out stuck together, one big piece. Which typically doesn't happen taking them off like this, but when you take the basket off, you can dump them all out. There we go. We got a good chunk of them out anyways. There's still some more in there. Let's see. Where is my little pick? Oh, here we go. Let's see if I can get this up in there to get it out. There. Let's get, the lighting's not the best in here. It's getting kind of hard for me to see. You know, I left my glasses inside. Let's see if there's enough. Yeah. That ain't working. There we go, got one more. There we go. That one. Let's see if we can pull the steel plate out with the magnet. There we go. It's got a friction plate stuck to the back of it. That's nice. Let's get the next steel plate. Should grab two magnets so I could get one on each side so we didn't have to teeter-totter here. Another plate. Another friction plate. Should be getting close to the... I think there might be one more set in here. Let's see. Yep. Now the first and last one will be friction plates because they'll go against the steel backing. Looks like this one's coming out with... Oh, nice. Got friction plate and a steel plate there. So I think that might be... Oh no, let's see. Is there one more back there? Might need to get a light. I can't see. Oh no, there's another one. Proper lighting is really a plus. It's hard to see back there. I'm going to go grab a light and be right back. Alright, so what we do is we're separating out these. There is 9 friction plates and 8 steel plates. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half and take out the 2 center steel plates and 1 friction plate. So we have a friction of steel, a friction of steel, a friction of steel, and a friction. So we've got 4 frictions and 3 steels with the friction plates on both sides here. And we're removing from the center a steel, a friction, and a steel plate. Now what's going to replace this is a grenade plate. So what's going in the middle is the spring plate here. Now this should be pretty close to the same thickness as this, but there's a spring so it does push a little bit. So what we're doing is we're going to take the back 4 frictions and 3 steels. So there's 1 friction, a steel, a friction, a steel, friction, a steel, and a friction. Because the back of this hub here, there's a steel plate. So you first want to put in a friction disc, and then a steel disc. And if you see how the teeth on these go outside to inside, that's when these lock together. This hub spinning in here will then engage this, and then in turn turns the transmission. So another friction, another steel. Come on. Those hands are greasy. Hard to get everything lined up. And if you can see here, this is spinning well. Okay. Another friction, another steel, and a friction. Okay, that's half the plates. Now we're putting in the spring plate, which goes in the middle. So we'll put the spring plate in here. Alright, now back to these, where we got a friction. You want to make sure you put the friction on after that. You don't want steel on steel. There's a steel, here's a friction, here's a steel, here's a friction, and a steel, and our last friction plate. Now we've got all of those back in there. Now it's time to put the pressure plate back on. Let's do that. This will come up here. Seat that ring in the bottom gets down in there. I should probably have my glasses on. I have damaged this inside ring here before trying to put this back together. Okay. See if I can maybe get a little light over here. A little extra light. So now is trick's trying to get this back in, and for some reason I always have a heck of a time getting that back in there. Especially when you switch to a stronger clutch spring. Right now I think I put the stock one back in there. Now I'm almost a little skeptical because that went in there really easy. So I feel like I did something wrong. But I don't know, it appears that it is in there and seated. It needs to go. There's little teeth on these fingers here, and it looks like it's in there. Like I said, I'm a little suspect because I don't know, it seems like I always have to battle with this thing to get it to get it seated. Oops. Maybe I just got lucky and got it on the first try. So, well, I'm going to assume that it's in there. Like I said, I don't have my glasses on. I probably should go get my glasses, but let's loosen this back up, see what happens. I have seen people make these tools out of some like PVC pipe and stuff, but it's not that expensive. This is a little tool I made for removing and pressing a bearing back in here. But let's see here, that okay, seems like looks like that retaining ring has seated correctly, so guess I got it on the first try. Just double checking around here, making sure that's looks all good. Looks like it's seated in there inside the groove on all the fingers. So that's always nice when stuff seems to go as planned. Alright, so we got that back together. We don't need to take this out. We could if we wanted to inspect the bearing, but holding it still, it looks good to me. What happens is if this bearing does start to go, what you'll have is you'll be adjusting your clutch, and then go to ride it and it's like, man, I need to tighten it up some more, and what is this bearing starts to go, and this will start to lean forward as it's getting pulled by the clutch cable. But that feels okay. So now we got to do everything we just did to get this open in reverse. So first thing we're going to do is put the primary cover back on. Trying to remember, I think my cable is under here. There we go. Now here we just put our fingers down here to push the chain up. Only thing you really got to line up is get that the tensioner for the chain pushed up, and then get it lined up with your shift shaft here. And then also there's a couple pieces here that hold the help to keep the gasket on while you slide this on there. Pretty sure trying to remember, I think the cable went around that way. Make sure that I can get this stuff all back how it should be. Just kind of making sure that I don't have to take that back off. All right. I'm going positive. All right, so we're going to start putting bolts back in here. I'm using the same gasket. I just replaced it last time I had this apart. Hopefully it doesn't leak. See, the primary cover bolts are all the same size, so don't got to worry about where they go back. I think we'll speed this process up so it not watching me here for 5-10 minutes trying to get the bolts in. Fast forward now. So here, we're going to open up to the torque sequence, which if you can see, this is the torque pattern. And the torque for the cover is 100 to 120 inch-pounds of torque. So we're going to grab my torque wrench. Dial it in. All right. Lock that into place. Get our socket on there. And start with number 1, which is right here. Okay, that's done. Number 2, which is down here. That one's done. Move on to number 3, which is, right next to number 2, down below. So it looks like now they just kind of go in order. Number 3, number 4, oops, come on, socket. Number 4, move it over here. And number 5, next one over. And number 6. And number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Number 10. And then skip over number 1 to number 11. And number 12. Number 13. And number 14. Number 15. And then number 16, the last one, right here. Now that was to 100. It says 100 to 120. I usually do it in the middle. But I usually go around the first time at the lower number. And now I will crank it to 110. And I'll go around one more time. And repeat the same sequence. Alright, so we got all those knocked out. Now next, we're going to put this stuff back together. Slide this back in there. Cable back in there. So sliding this in here. Put a screwdriver through here so we can turn the center adjusting screw here. Oops, about to put it on backwards. And once you get it lined up in there, then just turn it to pull that in. There we go, like that. So now the adjustment on this here is you snug it till it bottom, turn it counterclockwise until you bottom it out. I kind of work it back and forth a few times to kind of get everything seated. Turn it till it kind of some good resistance. You don't need to crank it down, but once you get it where it feels, it's like right here it feels pretty good, but you can turn it more, but kind of turn it until it starts to stop. And then you back it out. I think it's a quarter turn, but let me double check the manual. Okay, turn the clutch adjusting screw counterclockwise until resistance is felt. Back off a quarter turn. Okay, so I'm turning it. Okay, right about there I feel resistance. Now if you watch, I can keep turning, but that's past where I feel the resistance. So you turn it, you start to feel resistance. So we're here, so we want to back it off a quarter turn. Be about right there. And then you put the other nut back on there that kind of locks this in place. If I can get it out of my magnetic tray here. And you see it's grooved here. So when this goes in place, that screw can't turn anymore. Now if you go to slide it on, you see like right there, it won't fit. I have to turn it a little more. So err on the side of caution and turn it a little more clockwise if you have to seat this nut in here. So that adjustment part's done, and then when we get it back together, then we got to adjust the clutch cable up there. So now we've got this back on. So now we got to put the derby cover back on, and I always have the hardest time getting this little gasket to stay seated while I put the derby cover on. Now what you can do is put like a little dab of silicone to kind of hold it in place, but I just checked my silicone tube and it is all dried up. So see, it just keeps wanting to fall out. It's hard to get this stupid little O-ring. This is probably the worst design. I like the Dyna. It's got one that you put it on, you put your screws in and pop it on, it doesn't move. I'm going to see if I can maybe get a little bit of, I just threw it away, see if I can squeeze a little bit of silicone out there to kind of help hold this in place. Poked a hole in the side of it because it was totally gummed up. So we'll see if I can get a little bit out of here. Note to self, got to order some more silicone. So what we do is just put a couple little dabs, just a tiny amount to kind of hold that darn thing in place. If anybody else has got any tips on how to hold this O-ring in there, let me know. This was one I found off of someone else's channel. We'll try that. See if that is enough to get it to stay there. That's usually what you do. Is I just do a couple, like 4 or 5 little dabs, and that's usually enough to hold it in place while I put the derby cover back on. But seriously, Harley, you could have had a better design than this, because this is really a pain. Alright, so then we put the cover back on. You got this little notch here that just lines up with the clutch cable housing there. So we'll get 2 screws. Make sure we get this all lined up so I'm not bumping that, knocking that O-ring back there off. Everything looks in place back there. Hopefully it is, so we don't start leaking primary fluid. Thought I had that one started. Oh my gosh. I am special. We just might, just maybe, might want to put the primary fluid back in there before I close this up. It is a wet clutch, and this is also transmission fluid. I think I do this almost every time I start putting it back together. I forget to put the primary fluid in until I got at least a couple bolts in. Alright, so I gotta grab a funnel. Be right back. Alright, so I added an ounce to this so it's right at 32, because usually when it's right at 32 and I put it in here after a fresh change, it's the perfect spot, which is right at the bottom of that basket. Alright, and usually it's nicer to do this when I don't have the cable back in, but we've already got the cable in, so here, whoa. Almost started spilling primary fluid all over. So this, another thing, just take your time and slowly pour it in. For the dyno, I have a nice little insert that fits in here, and you pour it and it directs it right into the primary. I'll have to see if they make one for the Sportster, because it's slow going this way. We could all go through the inspection cover, but I didn't want to disrupt that seal or gasket. Okay, that is. I think they could have made a better way to fill this too. Crappy O-ring gasket design and crappy design on where you put the oil in. Alright, so let's double check my O-ring here. Looks like we're still good. Now we'll put the derby cover on again. That spring inside the hole. Everything looks lined up. Now there are torque specs for this too, which are in the manual. I recommend getting probably the Harley manual would be better, but they're kind of hard to find and can be expensive when you do. So I have the Climber manual for the Sportster. For the Dyna, I do have the actual Harley manual. You just got to keep an eye on eBay and they'll come up eventually. But they usually command a premium. I find that usually the information in the Harley manuals are a little better. Mainly because the Harley manuals are year specific, where the Climbers are a range of years. And there are differences, and I have messed up by like torque specs on the wrong year before an accident. So the torque specs for this are, there we go, 84 to 108 inch-pounds of torque. And where the heck is the torque pattern? I don't see it. Yeah, I won't spend all day looking for it. It's basically a star, if I remember correctly. Oh well. I did find though that it's 84 to 108 inch-pounds. So we will get the torque wrench in. So 84, we'll put it, yeah, I'll put it like 90, about 95. Let's see. Actually, I'll just put it at 90. And we'll just go across. We'll go top, bottom, top right, bottom left, bottom right, top left. Alright. And then I always make sure back torque wrench off all the way when you're done. Keep the tools nice and clean. I try to anyways. That's all the stuff we got to torque. Now we're going to put the shift linkage back on, adjust the clutch, and I think that's it. Unless I'm forgetting something, which is absolutely entirely possible. Let's see, follow my instructions at your own risk. So I got the seal back on, get this little rubber bushing there back on. Now when this was just straight up and down on here. Oh, wait a minute. Look at that, I'm about to put it on the wrong way. It goes this way. See, it's about to put it on backwards. I think, is it like, yeah, that was it. And I need the rubber, I think I might need my rubber mallet. Let me see. Usually this goes back on pretty without the mallet. There we go. But I do need a little bit of, where did I put me light? There it is. I think that's lined up pretty good. So this bolt should go back in there fairly easily. If we got it lined up right. If you don't get this lined up right, if this bolt doesn't feel like it wants to go in, don't force it, because you can jack up the bolt and the splines on there. So you do want to have it lined up with that groove that was in the shaft. And this, just kind of snug it up, doesn't need to be super tight. I'm sure there's a torque spec for it, but I ain't gonna look it up. This isn't necessarily something that's gonna really fall out on you. Now we gotta adjust the clutch. Start taking this slack back out of here. Alright, so I backed this back out. It wasn't recording, but this was all the way up. We're backing it back down, taking the slack out of the clutch cable. And then what we're going to do is, in a second, we'll have you go around, because there's a spec of how much play should be in the clutch cable, between the clutch cable and the housing there. It is 0.0625 inches to 0.125 inches of free play in here. So we'll pause it and we'll go around the other side. Alright, so the free play it's talking about is this space between the housing and the cable, and it is 0.0625 inches to 0.125. So here I have a feeler gauge that is 0.08, so hey, that's in between there. So I pull it out and I can get it in there. So I'm going to say that that's good for now. I will start it up and check it, make sure that it feels good, and then we'll button this back up. So first I'm going to clean up here and just take it up for a quick drive around the parking lot, and then we'll come back in, finish buttoning this up. There we go. I can't talk. So see you in a flash. Okay, so the clutch adjustment felt great. So all we got to do now is lock this nut back in place. Oops. Okay, got that locked back into place. Get our cover here again. Bring down the snap ring here. Sometimes you can pop this open with your fingers. If you can get keep the two sides together. Like that. Bring the bottom one up. See if we can pop that one back on with our fingers too. Alright, got that in place. Now we'll put this back against these clips back on. And then we need one zip tie for up here. Cut the zip tie there. That's all there is to it. I think that's it, folks. So that's how you open the clutch pack up, take the clutch plates out. So if you're going to do a clutch job, this video would also help you with replacing the clutch, because basically you got to do the same thing, although I was just putting the spring plate back in there. And we'll give her a test ride to work tomorrow, or maybe I'll go on one tonight just to see if that squeal's gone that I was having. It would be nice if it is, but honestly I'm not going to be surprised if it's not. So oh well, there you go. Till next time, YouTube, ride like everyone's a hired assassin trying to kill you. Alright, ride safe, YouTube. Peace.